Pain does not arise by chance. The Buddha said that there is always a cause for suffering. He stated that nothing in the world happens without a reason. Just as a seed must exist for a flower to bloom, must exist for a fire to ignite, so too does suffering arise from its own causes within our hearts. And that cause is not far away. It quietly hides within our hearts. The reason we suffer is because of desire. The Buddha said that human suffering arises from desire. This is referred to as, to put it craving. In simpler terms, it can be called attachment or clinging. When we have a desire to want, a desire to possess, a desire to avoid losing, and a desire for things to go our way, life naturally leads to suffering. Why do we suffer when we desire? This thought arises. What's wrong with wanting something? Isn't dreaming and working hard a good thing? That's right. The problem lies not in the desire itself, but in the obsession that it must happen. People easily have thoughts like this: I have to be happy. I have to succeed. I need to be recognized. I need to be loved. But the world doesn't always move the way I want it to. When things don't go as desired, anger rises in the heart. Sadness comes up. And frustration and loneliness appear. This is where suffering arises. The first cause of suffering, desire. The Buddha said that the first cause of suffering is desire. Wanting to have more. Wanting to enjoy longer. Wanting to be more perfect. If this mindset does not disappear, suffering will continue to grow. Desire initially approaches as sweetly, but eventually, it brings along even anxiety and fear. We feel lacking even when we achieve. We feel empty even when we fill ourselves. We still feel hollow. This is the endless nature of greed. The second cause of suffering, hatred. Another seed of suffering is hatred. It's the feeling of dislike, the mind of rejection, the desire to avoid. This must never happen. I dislike people like that. I can't stand situations like that. This hatred and rejection hardens our hearts. So, what will happen? The world doesn't go my way, and people don't move according to my wishes, and in the end, I constantly get angry, tired, the third cause of suffering, ignorance. And finally, the cause of suffering is ignorance. The Buddha referred to this as avidya. When one lives without understanding the truths of the world and the movements of one's own mind, a person acts foolishly. One ends up hating others, blaming the situation, and tormenting oneself. Not knowing is like being in darkness. In the dark, you can easily trip over a small stone and be frightened by a tiny shadow. But when you turn on the light, everything becomes clear. Life is like that. Knowing reduces suffering. Not knowing increases suffering. What should we do to eliminate pain? So what should we do? The Buddha gives a very simple answer. If you eliminate the cause, the result will also disappear. What does this mean? If you extinguish the spark, the flames will disappear. If you don't plant seeds, weeds won't grow. The same goes for suffering. If we gradually let go of hatred and ignorance in our hearts, life becomes a little more comfortable. In reality, we live like this. Let me give you an example. Some mothers think like this about their children. My child must study well. And my child must be kind. My child has to be better than others. But when the child isn't, I become uncomfortable, get angry, and say hurtful things. In the end, no one is happy. But at some point, you can think like this: my child is precious just as they are. It's okay to do well, and it's okay not to. A child will walk their own path. The moment you let go like that, your heart becomes much more at ease. Both the child and the mother will feel comfortable. Life becomes smoother. The Buddha's very brief words. The Buddha spoke very briefly. However, he spoke deeply, like this: all suffering arises from desire. And he adds, letting go of that desire brings comfort. Then how can we let go of greed and hatred? In fact, letting go of the heart is not as easy as it seems. Oh right, I need to let it go. Just because I decide to do, it doesn't mean it will happen immediately. That is why the Buddha encouraged us to practicing a little bit from small things. That's the first step to mastering your mind. First practice, try to feel enough today. Take a moment to pause and ask yourself this: what is already enough in my life right now? It's about listing the things I have, things I enjoy, and the people who are already by my side. Starting from the very small things: a warm meal, a comfortable place to sleep, someone's smile, my health, quiet moments. We already have more than we think. When we keep forgetting that and only look at what we don't have, our suffering tends to grow. So the Buddha said this: if you desire less, you will have more. Second practice, letting go. In life, there are unfair things, painful experiences, and people we dislike. It's hard to forget right away in those moments. But you can practice like this: that could happen too. That person must have their own reasons for it. I'm not perfect either. So I take a moment to breathe deeply. It's about releasing the hatred in your heart. With each breath you exhale, as you get used to this practice, your heart gradually becomes softer. Third practice, acknowledging what you don't know. People often suffer a lot while trying to learn what they don't know. Why did this happen to me? Why is that person like that? Why is my life like this? But sometimes, accepting that you may not know can bring peace of mind. The Buddha said this: there are many things in the world that are unknowable, and he taught that one can find peace, even in that ignorance, a new perspective on the pains of life. Life continues to bring unexpected events before us. Unanticipated encounters, unforeseen farewells, and unannounced incidents. However, if our perspective on pain changes, even slightly, life shows a completely different face. When suffering comes, we can ask ourselves this: what is this suffering trying to teach me? What should I learn? And what should I let go of here? In this question, we gradually learn the freedom of the heart. Life doesn't have to be perfect to be okay. The Buddha also said this: life is inherently accompanied by suffering. This statement is not meant to despair. It's a phrase that comforts our hearts, saying it's okay if life isn't perfect. No one's life is always joyful and always happy. Sometimes life is painful. Sometimes it's sorrowful. And sometimes it's sad. When you acknowledge and accept things as they are, life becomes a little warmer. There are things I can do and things I cannot do. We cannot control everything according to our wishes. But one thing is certain. The direction of my heart is the fact that I can choose it. If a person can find learning within their suffering without being swayed by it, then that person has already deeply understood life. The Buddha said this: a person who can manage their mind is happy anywhere. The greatest wisdom that Buddha has taught can ultimately be summarized in this phrase: live this moment as it is. Live this moment as it is. Regrets about the past, worries about the future, comparisons with others, situations that don't go my way, these things constantly torment our minds. But today, if we focus on this moment, life becomes a little lighter. The practice of finding what I can do now, what I can be grateful for now, and what I can smile about now is the warmest way to reduce the pains of life. Lastly, I recall the words of the Buddha once again. There is a cause for suffering. When you let go of the cause, comfort comes. Even if the pain of life doesn't completely disappear. When my heart changes in how I face that pain, we are already living a life that is one step freer.